Of the 8 main islands comprising the state of Hawaii, 6 of them receive commercial airline service. Flying is the easiest and, in some cases, the only means of transport between islands, and with an average of 170 inter-island flights per day, Hawaiian Airlines is the dominant player in this market. This is a part of aviation that's very close to me, as my first ever flights were these inter-island hops on Hawaiian Boeing 717s when I was just a few months old. Today, I'm going back to my roots as after 20 years, we're taking an inter-island flight from Honolulu, Oahu to Kailua Kona on the Big Island with Hawaiian Airlines' 717. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you enjoyed this very special video. Aloha and good morning from Daniel K. Inouye International Airport's Terminal 1. It's just after 7 a.m. and after an easy check-in process, we're off to the gate for our 9 a.m. flight to the Big Island. Terminal 1 is the home of Hawaiian Airlines in Honolulu, and most of its flights operate from here. The only exceptions are Hawaiian flights to Japan that are served from Terminal 2. Now let's quickly address the elephant in the room. Hawaiian and Alaska Airlines completed their merger in September 2024, making Hawaiian a fully owned subsidiary of Alaska Air Group. Thankfully, despite that, Hawaiian will continue to maintain its distinct brand identity. Terminal 1 remains fully Hawaiian territory, and all Alaska Air flights continue to operate from Terminal 2. This morning, we're on Hawaiian 198 to Kona, departing at 9 a.m. Because we had so much time until boarding, what better way to pass time than walking around the terminal? And let me tell you, if there's any airport that's worth walking around and exploring, it's Honolulu. Given Hawaii's year-round tropical climate, large portions of the terminals are open air with outdoor seating available as well. Now, the gate lounges themselves are not located outdoors, but that's good because at least you have the option of where you want to sit and wait for your flight. Inter-island flying in Hawaii is a very popular market, and despite Southwest entering the picture just a few years ago and growing rapidly, Hawaiian rightfully so remains the largest operator of not just inter-island flights, but flights to and from the state of Hawaii overall. On average, Hawaiian operates around 170 daily flights across 4 islands. Now hold on, why just 4 islands when there are 6 with commercial airports? Well, that's something we'll discuss once we're in the air. Anyway, Hawaiian's large inter-island operation is carried by its fleet of Boeing 717s, which have been part of the airline's fleet since 2001. Hawaiian ordered these to replace its aging fleet of DC-950s, which, when retired in 2001, had been serving the airline since 1975. Hawaiian currently has a fleet of 19 717s, and you could technically say that the 717 is the newest version of the DC-9 family. Even though the 717 is a Boeing aircraft, it was originally designed by McDonnell Douglas as the MD-95 and renamed to Boeing 717 when the companies merged in 1997. So, in short, McDonnell Douglas's DC-9 family is what started it all back in 1965, as the MD-80 family, of which the 717 is part of, were all developed from the DC-9. After watching my 717 arrive, I had some time to check out Terminal 1's new Mauka concourse. This is a new expansion that opened in 2021, and it's a night and day difference from the rest of Terminal 1 with its high ceilings and lots of natural light. Despite not having any outdoor areas, this is a really beautiful part of the airport. And what's even more beautiful is the fact that Mauka in Hawaiian refers to something that's located more inland towards the mountainside. And if you look at Honolulu Airport on Google Maps, you'll notice that the Mauka concourse is the closest part of the airport to the mountains. Now, I mentioned earlier how Hawaiian has a huge inter-island operation, but you never realize the scale of it until you look at the departure board and see just how many of those flights are going to other islands. And this is just for the morning and early afternoon. Of course, there are even more flights later in the day. Eventually, it was time for boarding, and Hawaiian enforces zones during the boarding process. Standard main cabin passengers board in Zone 4, with Zone 1 being for first class, and then I guess Zones 2 and 3 being for status holders. Hawaiian seats 128 passengers on the 717, with 8 of those seats being in first class. Now, considering the longest flight that these planes operate is like 45 minutes, I don't know why first class is even a thing, and aside from a bigger seat, there's not a super huge difference in the onboard service. All of Hawaiian's aircraft are named after specific things related to Polynesia and the Hawaiian Islands. The 717 fleet specifically is named after bird species found in Polynesia. Our aircraft today is named Palila, a critically endangered species of Hawaiian honeycreepers that only live on the Big Island on the slopes of Mauna Kea. Like the rest of the DC-9 family, the 717 has a 2-3 layout in main cabin, and when looking at the seats, you'll realize that these are the exact same ones found on budget airlines like Spirit or Frontier. But comfort-wise, the seats aren't bad, and you can't even complain because most flights are 30 minutes or less. And for today's 30-minute flight to Kona, I'm in 24A. There's not much when it comes to these seats, and of course you don't need much at all. The puny tray tables are actually perfect when it comes to the service you get on these flights, and there's a full-size pocket with a safety card and air sickness bag. Now here's something I've never seen before, and that is the window seats have noticeably less storage space than the other seats, as you can clearly see here. There's only enough space to store a small bag, not even a backpack, so I ended up putting mine in the overhead bin. The 717s do have personal air vents, which is nice of course because it gets pretty hot on the islands. And I don't know what happened to this armrest, but I thought it was cool how the window side ones can be folded up. Maybe I'm imagining things, but I've never seen this before.
The top portion of the buckle and pull away. Seatbelts should be worn low and tight. It is Hawaiian Airlines policy that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times when seated. When the seatbelt sign is not illuminated, you can leave your seat if necessary. When you return, please refasten your seatbelt. There are 7 emergency exits on this aircraft marked with red and white exit signs. For operation of the infant life vest, please refer to the safety briefing card or ask a flight attendant. It is a federal offense to remove a life vest from the aircraft.
So given the short nature of these flights, there's no onboard Wi-Fi or power outlets, but trust me, you can live without them for 30 minutes. The fact that there even is a refreshment service on these flights is great, and for main cabin, it's a cup of guava nectar juice, but water and coffee are available if you want. Earlier in the video, I noted that only 6 of the 8 main Hawaiian islands receive commercial airline service. However, Hawaiian Airlines only flies to 4 of them. This is the island of Molokai, which receives commercial service not from Hawaiian 717s, but Mokulele Airlines Cessna Grand Caravans. And here is Lanai, the second island that has commercial service not from Hawaiian, but again Mokulele Airlines. Now, even though Hawaiian Mainline never served these airports, Hawaiian did have a regional subsidiary called Ohana by Hawaiian, which operated ATR-42 turboprops across the 6 islands with commercial service. Sadly, Ohana by Hawaiian ceased operations in 2021 as a result of the pandemic, and because Lanai and Molokai airports aren't big enough to handle 717s, Hawaiian has never been able to reinstate services there.
Are securely fastened for the duration of the flight. We'll be landing in approximately 10 minutes. For weather conditions, mostly sunny skies, gusty trades at 0 miles an hour, the temperature of 83 degrees. On behalf of the entire crew, we appreciate you for choosing to fly with us today. We look forward to seeing you again on another flight in the near future. Until then, thank you, mahalo, and happy holidays. Aloha.
After a beautiful flight across the islands, it was time for descent into the island of Hawaii, also known as the Big Island. This morning, we would land from the north onto Kona Airport's runway 17. My flights on Hawaiian to and from Kona were part of a package deal booked with Hawaiian Airlines that included not just round-trip flights, but also hotel and rental car bookings in Kona. One-way tickets on the flights themselves can be found for as little as $49 one way, but that depends on when you're flying and also the route. Of course, with Southwest competing with Hawaiian on many inter-island routes, fares are generally lower than they've ever been. But to be honest, if there's no real difference in price, I'm always gonna prefer my beloved Hawaiian over Southwest for obvious reasons.
Watch your step at the end.
Okay.
Mahalo for joining me today, and after around 2 days here, I'll be headed back to Oahu, which will be a future video coming soon. Until then, take care, see you soon, and aloha.